For more on that, let's bring in our foreign affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, first of all, talk us through this relationship between Iran and China. What's it like?
Well, the two men actually don't know each other very well because they only met for the first time last year in September. That was in Uzbekistan for a summit meeting there, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And there have been one or two little skirmishes and disagreements between them since then. So I think this is going to be a meeting where both men try to get to know each other a little bit better and try to build a relationship to move forward. They have a lot in common with each other. So as far as discussions actually go, I think probably the key points that they are going to be discussing will first of all be relations with the United States. There is some agreement about the fact that in terms of ideology, they don't see eye to eye with the US. The war in Ukraine also is another point of discussion. The earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and Iran's nuclear program. Now, overriding all of these issues will be talk about exchange of oil between Iran and China. There have been reports that there has been actually a big increase in the amount of oil exports from Iran to China despite US sanctions, particularly over the latter period of last year and the early part of this year. And I think that China is keen to maybe increase the amount of oil being exported to the country from Iran, and that will probably be high on the agenda of talks between the two men. Now, there is another important issue too, and that's the Iran Cooperation Accord, which was signed for a 25-year period back in March 2021, just before Ebrahim Raisi took power. We don't know much about what's in that agreement. China is remaining a little bit tight-lipped about it, saying that it hasn't really got off the ground because of the COVID crisis, but we will know more soon. But what we do know is that Iranian exports to China reached $12.6 billion and Chinese exports to Iran $12.7 billion in just the period between March and December of 2022. And that is just proof of the fact that Iran is China's main trading partner. So that will also be very high on the agenda as far as these discussions go.
Now, Philip, there are differences in this relationship between Iran and China, particularly over several issues, including regional ones. Talk us through some of them.
Well, the main one, as I was saying, is with the United States and the perception that both countries have of the US. We're right in the middle of this balloon crisis right now we've been talking about for days on end, which has severely strained relations between China and Washington, or Beijing and Washington. But China can't go too far in becoming angry with Washington because it depends on the United States as a main trading partner. And when it comes to Russia and the war in Ukraine, China is keeping an eye on what happens there with a view to what it might do concerning the future of Taiwan. But it knows that if it puts a foot in Taiwan, the United States is going to come down like a ton of bricks. As far as Iran goes, it's trying hard to strike up any relationship it can to counterbalance the sanctions that have been imposed by the United States. And that is also one of the reasons that it is trying to push China to include it in many more regional groupings, so that this will be some form of alleviation towards Iran when it comes to fighting off the effect of sanctions.
Philip, thank you so much for that. That's France 24's Philip Turle. Thanks to him. Thanks to